Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back from the tea break. I, Vidhi,
And I, Rituja.
students of PGDM at National Insurance Academy, are honored to take you forward through the second panel discussion, where we shall delve into the theme Disrupt, navigating the digital first insurance workplace.
The discussion will be moderated by Dr. Rajesh Save, co-founder Impecker Consulting. Accompanying him, we have our distinguished panelist, Mr. Bhupesh Sawant Desai, CHRO, Greenline Mobility Solutions, Mr. Daljit Chauhan, Leader, Customer Success for Insurance, LTI Mindtree, Mr. Subhashish Banerjee, Chief Human Resources, ICICI Prudential Life Insurance Company, Mr. Sundar Natarajan, CHRO, India First Life Insurance, and Mr. Vinayak Jayaram, CHRO, Zurich Kotak General Insurance. May I now invite all our esteemed speakers to kindly form the dais as we briefly introduce them.
Dr. Rajesh Save is the co-founder of Impecker Consulting and holds a PhD in psychometrics from the University of Mumbai. With over 30 years of experience across human resources, consulting, and AI product development, he has served as global head of HR for transnational corporations and is a visiting faculty at IIM Lucknow, IIM Nagpur, and NMIMS University. His expertise spans agentic AI, generative AI, machine learning, analytics, digital HRM, the future of work, and the human side of technology.
Mr. Bhupesh Sawant Desai is the CHRO at Greenland Mobility Solutions. A TIS alumnus, Mr. Sawant Desai brings 25 plus years of HR leadership across e-commerce, logistics, and manufacturing. Having worked with Amazon India, DHL, Elastic Run, and others. His expertise lies in strategic HR, organization effectiveness, and building growth through people.
Mr. Daljit Chauhan is the leader customer success for insurance at LTI Mindtree. With over 25 years of global experience in insurance and technology, Mr. Chauhan has managed large delivery engagements, defined business technology strategy, and driven business development and operations.
Mr. Sundar Natarajan is the CHRO of India First Life. With nearly 3 decades in the insurance sector, he has led functions across governance, sales, customer service, operations, and strategy. Recognized as one of the India's most agile HR leaders in 2024, his work spans risk, performance management, and organization development.
Mr. Vinayak Jayaram is the CHRO at Zurich Kotak General Insurance. With over 20 years of cross industry experience, he has led post merger integration, AI driven HR analytics, and digital transformation while driving leadership development and DEI. An alumnus of XLRI, he was recently recognized as Financial Express Digital Influencer of the year 2024 for his work in digital and AI led transformation in BFSI.
Mr. Subhashish Banerjee, Chief of Human Resources at ICICI Prudential Life Insurance. With over 25 years of experience across financial services, IT, and ITES, including leadership roles at Infosys and GE Capital, he has been with ICICI Prudential since 2006. He currently drives people strategy, talent, leadership development, and performance management, aligning HR with business and cultural goals.
With this brief introduction of the panel, I now request my colleagues to extend a floral welcome to our esteemed speakers. Thank you. With our speakers on stage, I now request the moderator, Dr. Rajesh Save, to lead the discussion. At the end of the discussion, if time permits, he may also take up a few questions from the audience. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. And am I audible? Thanks so much. Well, it's always a pleasure to visit NIA. And thank you so much, Sushma Madam, Archana Madam, and Ruchika Madam for organizing this. Every year, this is more of it has become, a religious trip to me to come to NIA for Tatva. And of course, AI and HR is my main religion, right? So that's what I like to make it very clear. But thank you so much for organizing this year-on-year basis. And I think it's a great pleasure for all of you to talk to about specifically how are we relating AI and HR. And I think we have got fabulous panel members, and I don't think Sushma Madam you could have managed better than this panel so far as this particular topic is concerned. So kudos to you for organizing all of us together. So Yogi Berra, one of the very famous baseball players in US, once famously said that the future of tech is not what the future is not what it used to be earlier. Okay, what it means is that every time we have some idea about next 5 years, 10 years, and 15 years will bring something different, right? But things are so different now that every I wouldn't say even years, every month new techs are coming, and the amount of disruption which is happening is huge. Needless to say, HR and insurance industry, and I'll be quoting some of the most examples as well as we move further in the discussion. Uh, are going to be very very relevant, and I think I would like to ask some of the panel members about this. And first, Daljit, who represents a little bit of a non-HR kind of space because he's more into insurance as a domain expert. That's why I said I think the panel is fabulous. You couldn't have expected more than this. So Daljit, if you look at the years ahead in the foreseeable future, there's a lot of change which is happening, right? By the way, I think there's one very famous law of conservation of energy, and I have a corollary to that. All of us are aware of Newton's law of conservation of energy, right? Energy can never be destroyed now. So I have a corollary to that, which basically says there's a law of conservation of jobs. I mean, jobs can never be destroyed nor be created. They just keep on changing forms as we move into the future, right? So Daljit, my question to you is, some of the jobs so-called will disappear in insurance industry because you're an insurance industry expert, and some of the jobs will reoccur and will come in future as well. What I mean is that they'll keep changing the forms as we move further. So I'd like to ask, as an insurance expert, and jobs are more important for HR as well, right? So any comments on this? How new rules are shaping up, and old rules are well molting to give birth to the new rules. So any comments on that? And we'd like to know more about the inside information in the insurance industry, what's happening. Of course, all of us are aware, but Daljit definitely is straight from the oven, right? So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh. Truly honored to be here, part of this panel and meeting the students who are future of insurance for us. So I think, Dr. Rajesh, it's a very interesting question because as an industry, if you look at the last so many years, the disruption has been happening. Just that the pace of it was really slow. Like if you look at the way insurance was sold earlier on, then the portals came, mobiles came, through which you can have access to it. But the last few years, that pace of disruption itself has accelerated so much. And with some of the other technology investments that are happening in the industry, for example, if you think about AI and agentic AI, which has been taking the kind of a primary space in the last couple of years. But if you think about quantum, where the investments are happening right now, and as it scales up, the disruption that it will cause into the overall industry is going to be tremendous. Now, the roles that we have seen and then we are used to accommodating with that, they have been changing. But the whole point that was being discussed in the previous panel as well was, are the roles going away or are they being morphed? I think the technology is helping morph the roles. It is no longer that a person has to sit down and look at 70 years of history, looking through the charts in terms of the data report that was generated. Now it is more using the computer, using AI, Gen AI to identify trends out of that. A claims adjudicator or an underwriter, for example, now has very much powerful data and has an agentic interface to it, which can make sense and present to him the analysis. Because of that, some of these roles will have to morph in terms of the core not being ability to decipher the data, but more derive insights. ask the right set of questions to that agentic AI interface and derive insights out of that. But the core point is that people have to get comfortable with technology. So you understand the business. That is the core knowledge which will help you. But your ability to interact with the technology and use that to your advantage is going to be the biggest advantage. For example, we work on various technology tools. We are thinking always about a day in a life of a persona and how that persona can be influenced by technology. How can I take away the mundane activity which is non-value add for the nature of work that they are doing and enable them to do higher degree function. And that is going to be the key. A claim adjudicator will not probably be visiting the site. He'll be able to use probably a drone to look at that feed, analyze out of that, and still be able to perform much better than what he used to be able to do. And that is where that AI and agentic AI are the strong enabler. They're helping change the roles, for example, of an underwriter, a claim adjudicator. Distribution as a channel is getting kind of disrupted. That will enable you to think about new model. For example, embedded insurance, usage-based insurance. EVs are coming in. The kind of data that you have, can you design new product out of that? So those kind of roles will start gaining prominence. Your ability to think about from a user perspective and how you can embed technology for him will become the key role. Some of those roles are which will gain prominence.
Yeah, I think perfectly, and you alluded towards agentic as well. So I think about 4 years ago we were doing our usual stuff, and suddenly something called generative AI came in, and we all were zapped to see what new things are happening. Gen AI, Sam Altman, OpenAI. Then after that, plethora of Gen AI tech started coming in, and we were about to come out of that. And I always use this word that the hangover of generative AI was there, and even before that, there's something called agentic AI came and dropped on us. Another meteor, and then we spoke about agentic AI just now, right? Now that is making radical changes in what we are doing in almost every aspect of our business. So primarily agentic AI is used for task automation and decision orchestration, right? So Subhashish, what do you think? What are the low-hanging fruits? Because the first thing that we would like to grapple, grab in terms of what exactly we can do is the low-hanging fruit. We can quickly change in HR space. So if you think of agentic, what do you think? What are the low-hanging fruits that you can think of?
Okay. So I'll just give a bit of a context as to why this becomes extremely important. As an organization, I can talk about my organization, ICICI Prudential Life. Our wage cost, which is people cost, is around 50 to 60% of the total cost of the company. It is around 2,200 crores is the people cost. So now it becomes extremely important that people are put to efficient in the way they work. It has to be extremely efficient because you are deploying 2,200 crores of capital, right? So, and therefore the Pareto of your energy has to go to make people productive. Now, when it comes to making people productive, we know that because it's a people-intensive industry, while a lot of digital ways of engaging with the customer have already started coming in, the entire customer journey, but still insurance is sold as a face-to-face engagement, and therefore it is still a very heavy people-intensive industry, right? So when that is the modus operandi, how do you make people more and more productive? From that standpoint, and just to give you a bit of a scale, we hire around 10,000 employees in a year in our company. From April 1st to 31st March, we hire around 10,000 people. To hire 10,000 people, we meet around 80 to 90,000 people, maybe a lakh. So the ratio is basically between 8 to 10 people we meet, we hire one person. So 80,000 to 1 lakh people is what we meet face to face, and therefore we hire 10,000 people. Now, just understand the scale. Now, if this scale is running in an inefficient manner, just imagine the productivity loss of the organization, of the HR team, of the line managers. So one of the low-hanging fruit I see the entire AI, ML, deep learning, agentic AI are finding its use cases are in two functions. One is talent acquisition, and the second is training. So from a talent acquisition, there are a lot of use cases. We have started taking baby steps. For example, the entire deep learning model we use to parse CVs, right? Because there are thousands and thousands of CVs coming. So we parse, do an OCR on the CV and get all the details. Apart from doing digital KYC and all that I'm sure everyone is doing. It happened some couple of years back. Now there is a discussion around doing bot interviews instead of HR manager meeting 1 lakh people. Let the bot engage with 1 lakh and shortlist and give it to the HR function. So how do you train the bot? Now there are a lot of it has to be very cautiously treaded. While there is a lot of discussion around agentic AI and ML and deep learning, and there's a beautiful line I read somewhere. I'm not able to recollect a couple of years back, and it stayed with me. It said, tech is always overrated in near term and underrated in long term. What it basically means is, it is looking as if everything now is agentic AI, and every organization has implemented truckloads of agentic AI bots. That's not the way it is today. There's a lot of discussion. Organizations are doing it, but still there are baby steps. What we can imagine in 10 years, that is very, very less. Whatever we are able to imagine, it will happen much faster. But what we are thinking has already happened or will happen in next 3 months, 5 months, 7 months, I see the pace still being a bit slow. And why I'm saying it, and it has to be cautiously treaded, because when we were discussing internally in our organization also as to how to train the bot on say these video interviews. Now, to train the bot, we will use the data we have internally in the organization for the last 3 years, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, and feed it to the bot and make the bot train itself. Now, one of the things which happens with this is, we all know that in our human selection process, there is a lot of biases which also creeps in, because it is conducted by HR managers and line managers. As a human being, all of us have biases. These biases also reflect in our selection processes. Now, if you use that data and put it in the machine and train the machine with that data, the machine also takes these biases which are currently existing and starts throwing output with those biases. So while you are making it maybe faster, but are you also improving the quality of the process? If I have to say, maybe my HR managers are making wrong selection decisions, and I want the bot to have an alternate selection through output. That the bot may not be able to do, because the bot is getting trained by the 10 years of data of my HR manager, which also has inherent bias in that data. So it's a bit of a cautionary, and we have to tread with caution. But I think the biggest use cases will be in talent acquisition, in improving the productivity, like the video interview I said, or parsing of CVs is what we'll do, and the training. So for example, in training, because we hire so many resources, it's important to train them well and fast. And therefore we use agentic AI in that case, wherein the bot becomes a customer, and the salesperson practices the sales pitch with that bot, and the bot throws challenging questions and alternate questions. It helps the salesperson to prepare, and at the end of the conversation, the bot is able to generate an assessment report of what the salesperson did well and did not do well. from the tonality to the opening to the closing. So some of these use cases are emerging in the agentic AI space, which some of it is under discussion, some of it we have implemented, but in nascent stage. We will see how it pans out. But according to me, to answer your question, two two critical verticals within HR where the entire ML, deep learning, agentic AI, Gen AI use cases are being found today. At least I can talk about my organization is talent acquisition and sales training.
Guys, I think there's one thing Subhashish said, and I appeal all of you to please, go back and just remember what he said about the tech in short term and long term. It is something similar to what Gartner hype cycle speaks about. So when the tech is introduced, it goes on the huge hype, then it comes down, and later down, it kind of plateaus out. Why am I saying that? Is because if 2 years ago the same panel would have been here, we would have been discussing about metaverse. Where is metaverse today? Okay, virtual reality or all kind of extended realities. A couple of years before that, we would have spoken. So this is precisely what Subhashi just spoke about. Today, yes, we have been talking about agentic. Yeah, there's been cases of implementation, but still, I think the wait and watch is very important because another disruptive technologies are coming as we move further in future. So amidst this entire disruption which is happening, okay, and we spoke about roles which are coming and roles which are going. There are new roles which we don't even know today which are going to be appearing in future. Okay, for instance, data detective. Now people have been talking about data detective but at least I am yet to come across with any company which has got one position called data detective. It will come, right, as and when we progress so much, and few more roles will keep on appearing as we get into the disruption as well. So Sundar, I think you have been thinking a lot about this kind of stuff, right? Now this is most difficult question so far as whatever we could discuss so far, that you need to actually foresee in future by the kind of trajectory which is going, envisage those roles which are going to come, and then create a kind of awareness, number one, and then train our resources to adapt those roles and perform in that role. Now that's very difficult, but I would like to know your thoughts from that perspective, that how do we actually take it forward? That's very important because ultimately those are the guys who are going to be deciding whether the organization is successful or not. So please.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh, and thank you very much to NIA for inviting me yet again. It's a pleasure, like everyone on the panel said, to come and speak to the students, to speak to young minds. You're the future of the nation. Very, very interesting question. I'll take recourse to Bollywood. Okay. From I think one or two comments I heard, we talked about the past a little bit, today a little bit. You talked about what if we were here 2 years back. So you said also Sam Altman, brought in this new enigma called Gen AI 4 years back. If we were to ask this question to Gen AI 4 years back, and then I'm taking recourse to the movie called Kal Aaj Aur Kal. Okay, it was a very old movie. Okay, I don't know if you guys recollect. It is a movie where Prithviraj Kapoor, Prithviraj Kapoor, Raj Kapoor, and Ranbir Kapoor. Three generations. Okay, and now Ranbir Kapoor is a grandfather. So in that movie he was a grandson. So if we were to replay Sam Altman and if each one of you were to open ChatGPT 4 years back and ask this question, then, now, and 4 years down the line. Okay, so some glimpses I thought I will share. So 4 years back, we would have said that find skill gap, understand skill gap, upskill, reskill, unskill, and then upskill, reskill, and all of this guided by some strategic role direction, which dovetails possibly into the business goals. Okay, so let's say board has put up a 5-year business goal, and where do we want to be, and then what is the organizational strategy, and then the human capital or people strategy dovetails that. Typically, that's how the conversation may have been. Of course, some local nuances, some other movie reference which was popular at that point in time. If we were to do it today, I didn't. Actually, it struck me, but I should have tried doing it, but I didn't try doing it. But if we do it today, not much of a dramatic change is what I would say. Um, uh, but it will definitely throw up some ideas, and it will also throw up ideas based on what kind of questions you've been asking ChatGPT. Right? If you've been asking similar questions, then it will give you a more nuanced answer. If you've been asking very basic questions, then it will give you that kind of an answer. But it definitely will give you some crystal ball gaze. What could it be? And what kind of similar questions have been asked by millions of similar people today? And here's where the difficult one comes. Which is the question you asked? Okay, what would it say? Let's say 4 years down the line, even 4 years down the line, even maybe I don't know 2 years down the line, and it's changing at such dramatic clip. So it is. I would say it would be a function of our ability today to get the functional leaders, the CXOs, C-suite today, to think forward, to envision forward. For us to be able to do that, the C-suite today should start getting equipped with the rapid, adapt to the rapid change which is happening. If they don't adapt, then they get left behind. The organization gets left behind. So they adapt. They get they buy into the change which is happening. They get skilled on the change which is happening, and they get skilled on the capability to envision the future. Because if the CXOs are unable to do it, then the organization will not be able to do it, because typically they are the ones who are involved in the business planning. And if they are able to do it, then we create, let's say, the job description of a head underwriter 3 years down the line. Okay, the job description of a head, let's say, chief actuary, for example, 15 years ago, okay, would have been very different from what it is today, okay, and what it could be tomorrow. In the past, we would have been using, actuarial tables. Some still use. Even in the past, let's say, 50 years back or 100 years back, we would have been using log tables. I don't know if people in this room are familiar with the log book. I went to school, there was a log book. Okay. And more now, in the tariff era, where, general insurance worked in the first decade in this century, where we used to have tariff. And, it was all coded. But all of that has vanished now, right? And today it is, you get quotes on an app. So how would it be, let's say 4 years down the line? We need to envision it. Okay, so the important thing I would say is the capability to envision. For you to have the capability to envision, you have to digest the change and use that change to envision. I think that is a big key. I would leave on that note.
Thanks. I think that was a very good perspective. On the lighter vein, so we were talking about disappearing jobs and newly appearing jobs. Tariff as a word was almost disappeared, but President Trump came up with a disruption, and tariff became very popular now. So maybe such kind of disruptions. But anyway, there's one more point which Subhashish spoke about, which is employee cost as a percentage of total cost. And to me, that's very important because, and just to give you a couple of metrics in terms of, if you go to Reliance Refinery in Jamnagar, the employee percentage, can someone tell me what could be an employee cost of as a percentage of total cost in Reliance Refinery in Jamnagar? Anyone? A random guess. 20%? Anyone else? It's 0.8%. Okay. If I have to talk about your Wycom and Z and all that kind of stuff, they will be somewhere between 9 and 15%. Some of the manufacturing companies like Mahindra Tata will be 28 and all. His is 60, Infosys is 63. Now this is one data point. Another point is why Sushma ma'am is conducting this conference every year, which is HR conference. So someone asked me that you're going for HR in National Insurance Academy. So insurance and HR, what is the relationship, right? Because 60% of your wage bill is this, and I think all of us are in the range of the similar kind of stuff. It's people business. And that is the reason why this conference has been organized year on a year basis. So, Sushma, madam, thanks for your visionary attitude as well. But coming back to my question now, Mayur, who has been with me since morning, we were just chatting with him. Is he here somewhere? I was just chatting with him, and I said, "What are skills?" And he says, "I can do Python and C++, Java, and things like that." But we're talking of this is necessary, definitely for sure. We're talking of people business. I think where are we today is in terms of empathy, in terms of sales and claims are the two major important things. Are of us agreeing with it, right? And for that we require the soft side of the story. Okay, so that's the reason that my next question to Bhupesh you is that where are we on this entire soft side of the story which has been unfolded? Because somewhere I feel that even me included getting lost in this LangChain and JSON and stuff like that. And with 60% of your wage bill is driven by people, and people require empathy, recognition, negotiation for sales and all. So I'm sorry for the long question,
Yeah,
but
not a problem. I think thank you for picking up this very critical topic, because generally when we get into more of a tech side and we miss on the human at work. Right? And I think that's where the real question. We keep doing a lot of training skills. We do have training budgets and all, and so on. Probably
sorry, just a quick one. I'm sorry, I forgot to ask. So, in the midst of disruption, is all the more important. So, focus
I will
on.
bring that element as well. So I think the kind of change and if I look at the tech evolution which is happening, and more from industry agnostic side point of view also, the one thing which is coming out very clearly that how we are investing on the mindset side of it. When I talk about the mindset, it could be in the organization, it could be at a B school level, or it could be at a field force as well. To me, there are 2 or 3 things to the mindset when we can really challenge or we look at it. One is about the belief system, what is there in the organization. Second, what kind of experience that people are getting there, and what are the expectations that students or a corporate world is looking at. Probably these are the 3 things which really unfold, and if we invest on all the 3 things, probably that will help whatever the transformation is happening. That will really support. Another skill set probably we need to look at, and rather a lot of data talk about and the success stories talk about, is how are we facilitating the change? Do we really have that capability in the organization, capability at the B school, or it could be at the field side? Are we investing enough to create the ambassadors of the change? Because that's where the divergence happen, and very hard to make those convergence in the process. There is a tremendous requirement, irrespective of the industry, irrespective of the subject, or irrespective of the function, that we need to look at. And I think if we bring that up, and more ownership towards the individual rather than organization or anyone. And third thing probably we need to look at, is my organization ready for the change? Are we investing enough in the ecosystem to embrace this change? That is something we need to look at. These are my 3 points which I would like to offer you.
Perfect. Now, this, if you apply this, then obviously you'll be focusing more on actual brass tack stuff which is happening on the shop floor. So, when now it's going to be a little, a practical question to you. Insurance industry specifically has been, I wouldn't say getting impacted because of one, definitely technological disruption, but other side you also have regulatory issues which are cropping up, and that's something which is not there in a lot of other industries as well, and you have to be really, really careful for that. Can you give us 2 or 3 actual examples of how jobs or roles have changed because of tech disruption, or the business model disruption, or the regulatory related disruption? 2 or 3, and how you have handled it, and how do you go about it?
Thanks, Doctor. In terms of digital, as fellow members said here, that everything is changing and it's changing at a very, very fast pace. I'll give you some specific examples across domains that you understand of how jobs have changed. First is distribution. In a traditional world, distribution was only managing selling products. Now there's a feedback mechanism where every person who's selling has to know the customer well. He has to know where the losses are coming in, how does he serve the customer, and how does he ensure that he retains the customer. So that's where AI also plays a very, very critical role. In terms of underwriting, one of the best examples I can give is we've implemented something called the ZEP or the Zurich Edge platform. That's an AI-based underwriting tool in which you put in your rule engines, you put in your mechanism basis, your understanding, your experiences, and it helps give faster quotes at a faster and a more efficient pricing, which suits the customer at a faster throughput time. Which means a traditional quote which used to take 5 seconds to pull out now takes 0.1 seconds. That's how fast it's become, and hence my underwriters today are techno underwriters. They need to understand technology and they need to understand AI for them to enable the platform to work better every day. In terms of claims, initially the term that we used for a long time was adjudicators. Now they become claims experience managers. So what's important while settling a claim is not only your throughput time, but also the experience matters, and that's where a lot of NPS scores of how does the customer feel, has the customer really been served well, that matters, because a good claim means a good retention, and a good retention means more business for the organization. In terms of customer and the customer facing roles, I'll give you an example of customer care. We've implemented something called Agent AI. That's also an AI based tool. What this tool does is, while you are having an interaction with the customer, it dynamically tells you the mood of the customer. Is he irate? Is he passive? Is he aggressive? And it also tells you how to deal with the customer, what tone of voice to use. And in later also, when we interact with customers, nowadays every small detail matters. So we've also developed something called the Zurich Tone of Voice AI generator. It's very similar to your chat GPT. But it's based on our principles of what we consider as the right methodology to interact with the customer. So you take in any interaction of yours and you put it in this AI, it will convert it into the tone of voice that we expect when we interact with the customer. So that helps. Even support or enabling functions like HR, we also have a long way to go, but at the same time, a very critical part. The fundamental thing I believe is the closer you are to the business, the closer you are to where the revenue gets generated, the more effective you will be, irrespective of the function that you are working in. So in HR, we always try to see that how do we correlate more and more data using AI, using ML, for us to be closer in terms of decision making. For example, does the mood of a person or the patterns of a person over a given period of time, does it affect his customer delivery or his overall productivity over a given period of time? To put it simply, does engagement have a direct correlation with throughput or productivity? So these are things where AI helps. In summary, AI is not here to take jobs away. AI is here to help. So if somebody asks me in a sector like insurance, will AI take jobs? I don't think so. But there will be two categories of people very clearly in the future. One who understand and adapt AI, and the second who do not understand, who do not adapt to AI. It's the former who will be always preferred over the latter. And as professionals, especially HR professionals, our role is to ensure that we slowly and steadily transition people into the former bucket of the category. Those are the people who are going to exist.
I think Vinayak, that's a very important point, and maybe we have to come back to this last point that you alluded towards, which is, and I think it's a ubiquitous everywhere people speak about it, is where AI is going to take away jobs. So I'll come back to it a little later. But before that, the one which Subhashish again you spoke about, and I'm still stuck on that Gartner life cycle of disruption, where you have huge hype first. In my previous avatar, where I was a CHRO, and I think all of us will agree with me, suddenly this hype comes in, and then we are in the mad rush to train employees agentic, train everyone on agentic. metaverse, train everyone in metaverse. Uh, Sometimes we use the long-term advantages of that. Sometimes we lose the short-term advantage of that, and it's a bit of a confusion galore. So, Bhupesh, I'll come back to you because you also were talking about the soft factors. So, how can one approach the short-term and the long-term uh, training needs of employees from the tech disruption perspective? Right. So sometimes you train something on the short term. Like all those guys who were trained on metaverse, for example, 2 years ago. I mean, what's the return on investment on that huge training that we conducted? At the moment, nothing. By the moment, again, metaverse will replace. These guys would have forgotten. So, how does one play around with this? That's a very difficult answer to.
I think to me and based of my experience and all the changes, seasonality that we have seen, uh, what I would like to offer is more about can we have a persona specific training approach over than the very skill specific because each now the identity is changing, roles are becoming completely different. How we can bring those approaches? It could be underwriter, it could be a sales where the now the empathy is more important, influence is more important, or any other role. How we can drive that? Second thing which I also suggest is as an HR, what we are trying to look at as a whole system, how we invest at an organization level, how we can invest at a functional level, and how we can invest at an individual level. If we bring these three approaches as a whole system, probably what kind of a training, what type of a training, what kind of a methodology, and how much time we want to train is a subset of it. But more as a principle, we need to look at as a whole system rather than one fit approach.
Sure, I think it makes a lot of sense, but it's a very important question that all of us should be, and I'm sure there will be a more of a specialized or sometimes contextual way of addressing. Maybe what answer we are giving today may not be relevant tomorrow because things are changing day in and day out. Subhash, you spoke about HR analytics, and that's been a boon in the recent times because we're talking about prediction of employee attrition and prediction of probability of whether the person will accept the offer or not, accept a join or not, and so on and so forth. And that story goes on till even after the person quits, what is the probability that the guy is quitting today will get rehired or not, right? It's a complete spectrum. But I think the bigger question is, and all of us would have studied and alluded towards balanced scorecard, where we relate and link all the metrics, different kind of metrics to each other. So something like say risk pricing or any of the insurance related metrics, what I mean is, I think analytics, we have a great opportunity to relate all the HR related metrics to insurance metrics because eventually HR as a business partner will be answered by how you relate the HR metrics to the business metrics. So any perspective or maybe your experience where you've used HR analytics. So how do you make HR analytics as a subset of business analytics?
Sure, thanks. So, see, one thing which we should understand, again, a bit of a context. The value to the customer follows, or rather flows, horizontally. Organizations are structured vertically. It's a very interesting dynamic. The customer value flows horizontally. What do I mean by this sentence? Some department manufactures the product. Some other department prices the product. Compliance department gives the compliance legal sign off. HR department hires people who will sell the product. Risk and ops department will see the after sales and the risk part of it. So all the departments are structured vertically. Finally, the value which the customer is getting, the customer is not bothered how your organization is structured. Who is finance, what is finance doing, what is compliance doing, what is HR, how does it matter to the customer? And therefore, it is extremely important to have a horizontal view on some of these things. And in the previous panel, I was listening to a discussion which was specialist versus generalist and all that. The only teachable point of view I wanted to place here, because all of you are starting your career and My daughter is doing her graduation. She had just started her graduation uh, in Flame here. I keep telling her the same thing to her, that it is extremely important that you don't get stuck with this is what I want to do in my career. You have to be open to flow horizontally and understand different functions. I will only do data science for next 20 years. Bad choice. Unless and until you have understood the horizontal flow of value, it is very difficult to form judgments, because judgment is about integrated thinking. Why I am talking about this is, I'm connecting to what he was asking, that HR from a vantage standpoint is in a vantage point where the HR is able to see this horizontal flow. It's a vantage thing, right? I sitting here, I'm able to see two doors in this hall. You sitting there are wondering, this hall doesn't have any door. You are also right, I'm also right. It's a vantage point thing. HR, where it is sitting, is able to see the work finance is doing, the work sales is doing, the work risk is doing, the work ops is doing, and therefore is in a position to integrate this view. Now, how do we do this? Now, if I just say performance, how do you define performance? Now, different functions will define performance very differently. For the same frontline salesperson, sales function will say revenue bought or got by the frontline salesperson. Finance will say, no, how does revenue matter? What is the profitability of this frontline salesperson? Ops function will say, okay, profitability is okay, but this person has brought in a lot of risk in the organization. He's got revenue of 5 crores, but along with 5 crore has also brought lot of risk. The insurance policies he's selling, he's getting a lot of early claims. Early claims is a big drag to the prudence and profitability of the organization, because there is a high, and I'm talking to insurance graduate, that's why I'm using some of these terms. I hope and I assume that you understand some of these terms. That early claims, why is it a drag to the organization? Because there is a high cost arbitrage in the insurance product. You pay 25,000 rupees premium and get 1 crore of claim. See the cost arbitrage. Because of this high cost arbitrage, it is extremely important that when you're sourcing a customer, it has to be as per the guardrails of the organization. So if you're not able to source correctly, and the other interesting and the complex thing in insurance is, you don't get to know the quality of your sourcing on the day of sourcing. You get to know after 1 year, when the premium of the second year is coming or not, whether the claim is coming or not. So after 1 year, 2 year, you get to know what you have sourced, the quality of sourcing of last 2 years, 3 years. Because of this time lag and arbitrage in time, it becomes extremely important that not only to see the revenue you have got this month. I don't know what kind of revenue, and this kind of revenue I will get to know after 2 years. So now it's a different dynamics of performance, that I will get to know your performance after 2 years. So how do I assess you this financial year? I don't know your performance, because performance is not revenue. If a very unidimensional view is performance is revenue, then I can assess you this year. But I have to see profitability, I have to see quality of business, I have to see sustainability of business, I have to see your customer retention. Your customer doesn't stay with the company, somebody else's customer stays with the company for 10 years. That person is more profitable to me. So all this brings in complexity, because HR is in a place that ideally should be able to see this horizontal flow. If you are able to put all this data And see, the data resides in the organization. And I keep saying, most organizations, and I can say about again mine, we are data rich, insight poor. Data does not mean insight. Data is data. Data, you will have gallons of data. How to extract insights? Now, as soon as you put this data horizontally for that person, what is the productivity? What is the revenue? What is the profitability? How many early claims? How many mis-selling? How many lapse session? How many premiums have come? Persistency. Like this, there are 7 more. Now, if you put these 15 columns against one employee, you get to know the full holistic value of that employee. If you are able to use tech to generate this data and get insights out of it, what do? You reduce risk to the organization. What happens if you reduce risk to the organization? You improve profitability of the organization. What happens if it increases profitability? It passes on to the customer. So you make products cheaper and cheaper and cheaper by reducing risk to the organization. I think that is one way HR can help.
Excellent. One quick reaction. The justification of 60% wage bill as a percentage of total cost is justified by him just now. That also reminds me of balanced scorecard again, where you have lag indicators and lead indicators. So definitely, yes, HR is a lead indicator. In short, if you really want to invest in any of the insurance companies, long term, look at the HR indicators today, and be rest assured that 2 years down the line, this stock is going to hit, very high. So I think that's a very good tip, Subhashish, and a very good perspective as well. Where today, if you're doing well in HR, tomorrow you'll do well in revenue eventually. Excellent. We spoke about Sam Altman, right, a while ago. Once he said that AI is the biggest disruption or biggest invention since electricity was invented. And after that last, hundreds of years, there has been as big as. So when earlier you alluded towards that entire AI being replacing jobs. Now I'm talking about the soft factor, and I'm talking about the biggest, because whenever there has been any kind of such disruption. Wells Fargo, when they were implementing ATM machines way back in 70s, there was a huge resistance from the tailor community that they're going to take away our jobs. In fact, over a period of time, jobs and the trajectory went up. We actually required more tailors, and that's the history. Coming to your point, Vinayak, which you spoke about earlier, if forget the job loss, that's basically what the reality, whether that happened or not happened, different thing. But somewhere I think there is a loss of trust and disbelief in AI that this is AI is going to take my job. I think from HR perspective, how can we rebuild that sense of belief and trust and things like that? People should look at it as, and all of us agree with that, right? AI is more to do with influencing our skills rather than taking away our skills, right? So any thoughts on what intervention shall we have to ensure that there is that good old trust is now re-established and people look at AI as a friend rather than a threat? And sorry, last one. Specifically the digital first insurance industry, because 60%, so Ashish's point, if 60% is your wage bill, that decides everything. If there's no trust in the people business, nothing works.
So I'll give 3 overlying concepts that come together to answer this question. First being that the most important financial parameter, according to me, for any organization, it's not P&L or its balance sheet. It's actually its cash flow statement. That matters the most, because if you do not generate cash as an organization, you can always deplete your balance sheet. You can always have your capital adequacy going down and down. So that's part 1, which is very important. So we exist here to make money. So when I said we are not going to take away jobs, that's true. But job efficiency as per se is going to change over a period of time, which means what was done by 10 people will eventually be done by 7. But since the rate of my organization's growth is more than the deficit of 10 and 7, which is approximately 3 by 7, which is 42%, as long as I'm growing above that, I'm not losing jobs. So jobs are safe. That's part 1 to the story. Part B, as a lot of panelists here also said, is that you need to look at jobs as verticals, horizontals, so it becomes a hybrid job. So you're not doing a claims job. In HR, I'm a business HR. I'm a underwriting known sales specialist. I'm a technical underwriter. So these are hybrid roles. That's part two. Third is you will always be afraid of something that you do not know. So the job, the entire feeling of AI will take our jobs comes because we do not understand AI. And this is going to be a journey. So what we did in our organization is we've broken this into 4 parts. The reality is organization it runs at a very fast pace. So I can't call my entire workforce into one room and say we're going to have 3 months of AI training. That's not possible. That's not practical. So you'll have to break it down into small digestible nuggets. So the entire organization is broken into 4 parts for you to be AI ready. The first part, which everybody needs to know, is called data and AI awareness. That's applicable to everybody. And that tells you what AI can do, what AI cannot do. Then there is a certain set of people who are further advanced into it. Those people we reclassify as data and AI adjacency. They understand a little bit of the tools that they require in depth and become proponents of these for their organization. The third one would be AI and data proficiency. This is a main lot that works on models and systems for your given department and then works in collaboration or cross-function. And the final group, which is an elite group, is the group which is called the deep data and the digital skill specialists. These are people who work to get the entire magic together. So it's simple, just keep these 4 groups. And when you do this, you realize that eventually over a period of time, 5 things happen. The first one is already done, which is you start treating AI as not a competitor, but as a co-pilot, somebody who helps you in the journey. It's helping you get more efficient. It's helping you get smarter, and it's helping you take faster decisions. But finally, the decision, which is just not just based on data, but it's based on empathy, it's based on trust, it's based on your ability to see what the customer needs, that's still taken by the human. So the first thing, which is the first step of everything, we've already conquered. We now go to the second step. Once you get to this, people have to now start understanding that how does this affect their roles. This is where a lot of HR design comes in terms of this is where you were, this is where you need to reach. So how does the roles change and how do you redefine roles? And this has to happen gradually. You can't say overnight that your role is changing. So what is the glide path for them to change? And then the third part, which is equally important, is if you are in one of these 4 brackets, how do I train you to get there? So finally, we are people function. We are here to make lives of our people easier. We don't take pride in saying that yesterday we had 100 jobs, today we have 50. We take pride in seeing that I have 100 people, I've retained them, and today they were working at level A, today they are working at level B. And that's what should be the work of everybody here. If you're working for a customer, don't take it as a sale. Take it as, in insurance, you're in one of the most noble professions that you're going to be in. You've made a difference in somebody's life. You've insured somebody so that they're able to, you're going to help them during the time when they're the lowest in their life. When they're making a claim, they're in distress, and that's the lowest moment. So take it that way, and I think AI is going to really help us. And please try to emulate this journey in your life also. You can't become AI scientist tomorrow. Take small bites, take probably a year's time, 1.5 years, pace it out, and think about how do you move from one level to the other, so that by the time you're ready to join an organization, you're already half done in terms of your proficiency of understanding the tools.
Excellent. In fact, you reminded me of Desmond Tutu's, the Nobel laureate, very famous quote. End of your life, when you have to take stock of what I've done in my life, well, the most important thing is you should answer yourself, how many lives have I touched? And that's the most important, message that you are actually conveying. And insurance industry, you rightly said that how many people have really helped, right? Very important. But I'll change the trajectory a little bit, and I'll move over to one very important issue that specifically insurance industry is facing. But before that, Swargya Harivansh Bachchan, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan's father, has written a nice poem called Paudhon Ki Pidiya. He speaks about, it's a fabulous poem. If somebody gets a chance, please read it. It is there on the internet. It talks about three different generations and how these generations are thinking different from each other and coming to generational diversity. Insurance is one industry which is very, very weird in terms of having a huge mix of starting like Srinivasan sir was there in the previous discussion, right? I mean, he's the CEO now. Typically baby boomers, right? From baby boomers to Gen Z, I mean, to Gen X, to millennials, to Gen Z, and after that, Alpha, Beta, Gamma. I don't know what's going to be happening. Uh, let's accept the fact that there's a huge difference between the way people behave. These different diversities are behaving. This particular question is specifically asked to Daljit, you, and I'll tell you why. You represent L&T Infotech Mindtree. Larsen & Toubro is one of those companies where huge amount of baby boomers and significantly large portion of generation. I've worked with you guys, so I know very well. It's a very difficult job for him because he's answerable to the entire spectrum of rainbow. So specifically from insurance, because you know IT very well, you know insurance very well, and you know L&T as well, manufacturing. So how does one take care of uh, maintaining, managing, and successfully managing this entire diversity specific to insurance industry, because that's very matters a lot. It has got this weird mix of all the generations. Because everyone responds in a different way, everyone talks in a different way. So any thoughts on that kind of? I'm sure most of you guys, this will be very close to your heart because the moment you step out, placement season is around the corner. Next June, you will join companies. Your boss would be either a Gen X or a baby boomer, and you belong to a different planet. So there'll be some tips from you for them as well.
No, I think, see, that's a very challenging job actually because the way that the people of Gen Z responds, reacts, analyzes information is really different than what we have been used to thinking around it. And our motto has been that reach out to them the way in which they prefer. So I'll take an example. So today, as an organization, for example, there is a communication channel around whenever a major incident happens, there is a disruption which has happened and you need to notify all of your employees.
Yeah, just to say, it will be nice if you give actually brass tacks example, how you dealt with a baby boomer, which is above you, and how you dealt with a Gen Z, which is like far too below you. Brass tacks, actually, I'm sure you have done it.
Yeah.
I know you have done it, so please.
So interestingly for me, like I have been with the firm for about 25 years. I have seen people who are my managers who are now very good friends, and now I'm seeing a fresh wave of generation kind of coming in and dealing with that. So it's interesting from the point that the thinking approach and analyzing an information was very different from the time that people that I used to report into. My thinking was I need to change, I need to learn different technology and different things. One of my managers who was pretty senior to me, he came to me, and during my college days I had worked on Java, VB, Pascal, Fortran, COBOL, all sorts of the fancy things at that point of time. So, and I used to be like, when I joined as a trainee, we used to have a 3-month training in Mumbai before we were transferred out to Pune. The prior batch to us, and it had some of my seniors part of that batch, they were sent back. And the focus of sending them back was training on mainframe. And the idea was that, or rumor was that, Pune is going to get a big project which is on mainframe. And that was the biggest fear factor in our mind, that I don't want to work in mainframe, I don't want to get stuck into that. It's a dead technology. Fortunately, I got an opportunity to work in Java. But after about 2-3 years, one of my managers came back and said that, Daljit, I have offered you thrice to change your technology from Java to VB. And you have said no. I want to come and talk to you one more time. We have got a new project where we are taking over a certain functionality, which was a call center contact center agent. And the customer is really in a problem because they have to budget for about $3 million for upgrading the technology and taking it to Citrix because the current solution is not scaling up. And it had 3 different systems which are like legacy systems into mainframe running, and they kind of budgeting for that. I said, you said no, but please think about it. And that was a turning point. I said yes to that assignment. I traveled to US for about 6 months, did that transition, felt homesick. I came back, even though the customer wanted me to stay back there, but I came back. From that time onward, my thinking has itself changed. So you have to go through that journey. And the focus became that technology is secondary. Your approach, your learnability, and how do you incentivize and excite an individual about a potential, that becomes the key. So by the way that manager approached me and convinced me about a customer pain point and how I could make a difference into their life, that became a changing point. And that's something which has stayed with me. I've kind of tried into all my interactions. Today have a team of 7 people who directly report into me, and it has got a one person who is 2 years into the workforce, and I got a one person who is 17 years into the workforce. So even today, I have to change my approach of interacting and talking to them, how to motivate them, how to incentivize them, and how to kind of get them to work onto it. But some of the things that we have to take care of is that Gen Zs are more comfortable with a WhatsApp or a kind of Insta message and things like that. So you have to reach out to them. Other people would prefer a phone call. You pick up the phone, talk to them, explain, and then send across a message to them saying this has to be accomplished. So as an individual, you have to change your style with Gen Z and the way that they are dealing with and accommodate according to that. But key message is that I think when we join a workforce, it's always a mindset that I want to work on the latest cutting edge technology. But believe me, your knowledge about the business, the way that the business works, technology is just a tool. And it is going to change very, very fast. Even with a blink of eye, the technologies will change. And today, the way that Gen AI is advancing, today it's abstracting out a lot of technologies. So you want to develop a functionality using a .NET or a Java or a mainframe, give it to Gen AI, it will generate 3 types of code for you to run. So it's becoming that easy, and it will become much more easier going forward. Focus on business, make sure that you understand the business, you'll be able to look at it from a buyer perspective, empathize with him, and that will take care of your career and your journey.
So self-monitoring is very important, but there was a subtle subliminal message that Daljit had, which I think all of us will agree on the dais, that our generation is the one which has to do all compromises because there are baby boomers at the top and we have to talk to them in their language, and then there are Gen Z guys at the bottom, we have to talk in their language. So in short, we all suffer. Jokes apart, but I think that was terrific. I think, you also need to understand what Gen X is looking for, guys, so it has to be mutual in that perspective. Great. Since we spoke about vertical split, let me talk about the horizontal split. Let me talk about the vertical split now. In insurance specifically, which is an old industry, there are a couple of things which are very important. If you're going to go the tech-enabled way, okay, you need to have a solid tech guys and you need to have a solid domain guys who understand insurance very well. And most of our companies have this particular, one is the tech team or rather that when I'm saying team, I'm not talking about the team as in a group itself, but it's more to do with, the tech driven guys, more techies. Their perspective is different, right? About the vertical split now. And the other is insurance as a domain, which has been there for years together, right? And obviously one of the oldest, industries as I understand. So Sundar, now Daljit spoke about the horizontals. Now you please tell us about the verticals. That will complete the entire organization.
Okay. Again, I'll resort to Bollywood. Okay, I'll take help from the audience. Can you name a movie? I have a movie in mind. Can you name a movie which is set in a B school? 3 Idiots is engineering school. So I heard 2 states. Okay, so 2 states is what I had in mind. So 2 states, if you recollect, is about the protagonists. If you recollect, you have one bright Punjabi Munda, okay, and you have one smart Tambram girl, right? So that's the movie. So let's look at the bright Punjabi Munda as the functional person and the smart Tambram girl as the techie. Okay. and play it out. Pehle opposites attract. Okay, so they will attract. Okay, then aag lag gayi. Okay, uske baad, okay, will it sustain? Okay, for it to sustain, what is needed? Okay, for it to sustain, it is like a marriage, right? Okay, and today we are having dating and matrimony apps. You will have job swipes as well. Okay, so for the flame to sustain and rage into a ongoing fire, both of them will need to learn the other. Okay, so for example, today, we hired a management trainee last year, and she's doing some amount of people analytics. Okay, very baby steps. I won't say nothing fancy, very baby steps, but the intent is that somebody like her, who is practicing and as an HRBP, but learning R and working with the data science team on small projects, and which then go on to resolve a business problem. Okay, so the larger thing to see is what are we solving for? Okay, are we having an aligned goal? Okay, that's the most important thing. If we are having an aligned goal, then we start gravitating and working towards that goal. If we have a siloed goal, then we will gravitate towards that. You mentioned KPI and balanced scorecard. So the balanced scorecard has to, every person in the organization has to know how they contribute to the balanced scorecard of the company. Okay, a very oft used question, is that what's your view of the company's KPI? Okay, in interviews, and it kind of resonates. So coming back to the two states example, I'll go back about 15 years back. First time I used analytics. I don't know. I probably shared that with you, Dr. Rajesh, last year. I used to head persistency in 2011, and we had this thing called a Cairo leaf model. Okay, of law of it was a propensity to lapse. Okay, it is, you create a regression model on propensity to lapse. So somebody from this firm, Cairo Leaf, came and propagated, and there was so much apprehension, and they were saying, that for persistency, don't make phone calls. That was like, anathema to us. You have to make phone calls. You have a target. You have to hit it. So we said, okay, let us try it. Okay, we have to put some faith. You have to put some faith into it. So we tried it. And analytics in 2011 was glorified Excel. Okay, so there wasn't much. You have to somebody applied. Now, if I had just looked at that as a tool, somebody else is working on it, unko apna kaam karna hai, I will do my work, we would have remained the same. Today, persistency for organizations from 2011 to 2025 has significantly improved for the industry, right? And it is because, across the industry, people have applied it. And similarly, if you have, let's say, a persistency person taking up analytics, okay, as a profession, that change has also started happening. And either, if somebody has started moving in that direction or the other person has started moving in this direction, is when magic will happen. And going forward, it's already happening. We are already seeing, and Vinayak referred to it, we are already seeing convergence of functions. Okay, it is not only tech and another function. It could also be convergence of functions in the insurance domain. You can easily see it happening. The actuarial and finance functions are converging. They will converge. When RBC sets in, you will need to have a CFO who's probably a qualified actuary, okay, or an appointed actuary who's a chartered accountant, or vice versa. Cut across the qualification, but from a skill set point of view, there has to be convergence. So my suggestion to the people in the audience is explore careers as convergence. We also heard that how we have to, somebody who moves across functions is probably likely to be more agile and be able to take a more measured decision. I've for example, applied that in my career. Today, if I have to look at a human capital policy, review a human capital policy, I use my experience in sales, strategy, and governance to be able to do it. So
Very well said.
it's I mean a classic living example which I can quote. So it's something for food for thought before we hit the food table.
Absolutely. So that's more of a yin and yang of the Oriental philosophy, or maybe Ardhanari Nateshwar in our good old Purana. So fantastic. I think we've done really well. Just before this particular session, we all of us discussing that Ruchika always puts her either in the graveyard station or in graveyard station, right? So Ruchika, my sincere advice to all of you is next time ensure that Sundar is any one of, because the moment you spoke about his Bollywood nuggets, half of them suddenly woke up, right? So I think Sundar, you should always be with us, either in a graveyard or a graveyard, doesn't matter, right? But thank you so much, guys, and I think we've done on time. Guys, you had about 175 years of experience sitting on the dais. I'm sure you must have got a lot of nuggets out of all this. So I thank you all panel members. I think we have a very fruitful discussion. But my favorite statement, General Patton once famously said, uh, wars are fought with weapons like analytics, AI, whatever, but won by men. So when you say men, obviously, maybe he was talking about people as such. So guys, ultimately, it's up to you to decide how exactly you're going to win the wars. AI will come, something else will come, metaverse will come. These are all weapons. Ultimately, the guy who's going to be using this weapon is you. So, well, on that note, again, I'd love to thank all of you. I think it was a very fruitful discussion. Thank for the organizers, Sushma Madam, Archana Madam, Ruchika Madam. As usual, it was a great, experience here. Thank you so much.
That was a truly engaging exchange of ideas. We thank our eminent leaders for sharing such rich insights into disruption, technology, and the human side of change in insurance workplaces. May I now request our colleagues to present mementos to our speakers as a token of appreciation.
Thank you. That's it for the second panel discussion, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being such a great audience. We'll now have a break for lunch, which is arranged at the Jubilee Park, and then we'll continue at 2:45 p.m. for the next panel discussion. Thank you.